Erry, and I'm Assistant Chief with the Austin Police Department. We're here today to discuss an incident that happened yesterday on Lady Bird Lake in Austin, Texas. Beautiful day yesterday. Everyone knows how nice it was. And we had a incident that very easily could have been much more tragic. And it was, that tragedy was prevented by our public safety partners, the fire department, EMS, but especially some APD officers that were able to be there, respond very quickly, and save some people from going over Longhorn Dam at the end of Lady Bird Lake. During the afternoon hours, a group of visitors to our city were riding in an electric boat, which are very common down on Lady Bird Lake. While they were going along, they got close to the spillway of Longhorn Dam. As they got closer to that spillway, the water ended up pulling them to the spillway, and they got lodged on top of that spillway. They were able to call the company that runs the boat service. They came out, tried to pull them off of the dam. They were not able to pull them off the dam, and that's when 911 was called. Luckily for the people that were inside both of those boats, we had some Lake Patrol officers on Lady Bird Lake in a boat that was able to get over there, tie off to them, and pull them to safety. Like I said earlier, this would have been very tragic had they gone over the dam. It's a very high dam, and there would have been probably severe injuries, if not loss of life, due to that. There were a couple of the officers. There were three on board the boat: Officer Perez, Officer Bozick, and Officer Smith. Two of them are here today to be able to answer any questions that you may have about their actions. Also, District Chief Truesdale with the fire department is here, and he will be able to answer any questions if you have any. So I will introduce Officer Smith and Officer Bozick, and then DC Truesdale is there.
Hello, my name is Officer Smith, Bradley Smith, BRADLEY SMITH. Officer Smith with the Austin Police Department Lake Patrol Unit.
Hi, my name is Officer Mark Bozick, MARK BOZYK. I'm an officer with the Austin Police Department's Lake Patrol Unit as well.
Do you have any questions for the officers?
Officers, tell us how events unfolded, when you got the call and what happened after that.
Yes, sir. We were patrolling Lady Bird Lake when the call came out that there was a boat against the dam. Typically when there's a boat against the dam, sometimes it's nobody's on the boat and it's just floated up against the dam. That was not the case in this point. The boat was occupied by 4 individuals from out of town. They were taking a tour down the lake, and then went past 2 marked buoys, notifying them to not go past that point. They weren't paying attention. They said they were talking to each other. By the time they realized they were almost at the dam, they tried to turn around and to avoid it, but the suction was too powerful and pulled them against the dam.
So when you guys got there, what was your initial reaction to seeing them just kind of balancing right there on the spillway?
That was very close. I have not seen one that close teetering basically on the edge without actually going over. It was very nerve-wracking because approaching the boat, you have to make sure you don't wake it so it doesn't fall over the edge, but you still have to get there quick enough before it actually does fall over the edge. So it's a balancing act on our part. Luckily, we were able to get there quickly, tie up to the boat, and take both of them to a safe location.
What was the condition of the passengers when you reached them? Were they fearful? Were they excited?
They were surprisingly calm. They wouldn't say nonchalant, but they knew what was going on because they were all leaning backwards in the boat. If you see the pictures, their boat's halfway over, and they're all leaning backwards. So they knew what was going on, but they did remain calm, which is very good.
How much of a close call was this situation, sir? I mean, the boat somehow lodged against the dam. I mean, is that, would you have expected that? Is that common?
Luckily, the boats that are allowed on Lady Bird Lake are electric, and they're not allowed. They don't go that fast. If it was going faster and actually hit it, I would assume that it would go over. But luckily, the speed of this boat and the current that was being pulled to the dam was not enough to make it actually go over.
Can you explain briefly what actions you took once you arrived at the boat? I mean, how did you extricate them?
Sure. I was driving the boat. We approached, and we looked at the primary victim's boat that's hanging over the dam, and there was really no safe way to get to it and hook another line up. So what we decided to do was turn our boat around, buddy up to the secondary boat, tie off to it, and use our engine to pull all of us away. He was one of the line handlers, so he's actually one that actually connected the line to the secondary boat that allowed us to get everybody to safety.
And could you all talk a little bit about that secondary boat? We heard another boat from that organization had anchored them there, but didn't have the power to pull away.
Correct. So the secondary boat was actually captained by one of the retro boat Lake Austin staff members. They usually go out in case something happens if it stalls out. So they actually responded to help them. He hooked up. He tried backing off, but that engine with the suction that's going through the dam just wasn't enough to pull it off. He was able to steady it to make sure it didn't go any further, which was a huge help. So I'm definitely glad that he was there, and he possibly prevented them from actually going over. So he held them steady. Wasn't a good spot to be in, but he still held them steady at that point, to at least until we can get there, hook them up, and move them.
Any suggestions for people coming out who are traveling and plan to get in these boats and ride around?
Yes. Waterways are all different. There's education courses you can take that teach you what buoys mean. I would advise take the class. It's worth it, especially if you're going to an area where you don't know the area. That way, when you can approach a buoy and you see the buoy, you recognize the signs, and this is a keep out buoy. I shouldn't go past this point, which are the two buoys that are out there, the keep out buoys. Recognize that, learn them, and then just boat safely.
What was their reaction once they were taken to safety?
They were still calm. They thanked us very much for being there, and then that was it.
What's down there? Is it concrete? Is it a lot of water? Is it deep?
It's concrete. I don't know how far of a fall it would have been, but it is concrete at the bottom. So if you fall off, you will be hitting concrete at the bottom.
What's your reaction, and I suppose feel free to chime in, to the way this story took off? I mean, it was on ABC, NBC, national news, and it's bursting on social media.
To be honest with you, on our way back, everything was calm on our boat. It was just business as usual for us, and it took off. The story took off. So, to our surprise, I think.
Yes. I wasn't expecting it to take off. It was just a normal day at work, and that's where we're at now.
Would this just be another day on the job for you guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any last things you guys want to add?
No, Austin is a great place to visit. Obviously, like I said, just be careful, pay attention to what you're doing. It's a great city to be in and a great city to work for.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
We'll
Thank
go
you.
ahead and pass it over to the division chief.
My name is Stephen Truesdell. I'm a division chief with the Austin Fire Department. Stephen is Stephen, last name Truesdell, Truesdell.
Yeah, any questions that you would like to ask for division chief?
Chief, what can you tell us about the contribution from your department out there yesterday?
So as Chief Perry alluded to, it's a team effort. Anytime we have an emergency on a waterway in the city of Austin, one of our first calls to dispatch is always to ask if lake patrol is on the water, because they're, of course, an invaluable resource. We send a standard response package to any water rescue. We have paddle boards on the units that are positioned around the lake, although that would have not been the best tool in this circumstance. We also have Zodiac boats, the inflatable boats, at several of the stations near downtown. And so we were responding, but because of the fact that APD already had lake patrol in position, they were certainly in the best position to make the rescue. So we provided downstream safeties, which is something we always do in a rescue. In case a victim or a rescuer is swept away, we're in a position to save them. And then we also had crews on top of Longhorn Dam that were lowering life jackets down to the folks in the boat. So they might have had life jackets, but ours are a little more robust, and so we want to make sure that they had those.
Chief, can you elaborate on how your crews and Lake Patrol with APD, how they're always at the ready for something like this, and they're prepared for an emergency like this?
Likewise, we train in water rescue all the time. We have several stations, our special operations stations, where everyone's certified as a rescue swimmer and a swiftwater rescue technician. We go through a lot of training. We travel all over the country and to different environments where there's active water to train in. We go to Tarrant County, which has a training facility there. So we do a lot of preparation. As we've seen in the last few years, just a tremendous growth of activity on Lady Bird Lake in particular. And many people are visitors. They're not necessarily prepared, and oftentimes a change in the weather is where we see the biggest number of incidents occur. People will paddle with the wind, and they'll go a long distance, and then they'll turn around and try to go into the wind, and they'll quickly get tired, and then they're just exhausted, and they don't know what to do, and they may not be a strong swimmer. Also, when some of the storms blow in, they'll just blow a bunch of people off of their paddle boards or canoes, and then that's when we have a lot of the events occur on the lake. And the holidays, of course, it gets super crowded.
Chief, that aerial photo was pretty eye-catching, showing the boat and the other boat. Unique situation based on your experience. Have you ever come across something like this before?
We've had similar incidents actually at Tom Miller Dam on Lake Austin. We had a boat go over a few years ago that was occupied with 2 people. They got washed away, went downstream into the upper end of Lady Bird Lake, and they were able to crawl out below the UT housing there. We've had several years ago, there were a couple of visitors in a canoe that also went over Longhorn Dam. Probably should not have been in the canoe, and the concession that rented it to them really couldn't explain why that happened. But we've had it happen before, and yeah, like you say, the drones are invaluable. I believe that was EMS's drone. We carry those as well, and we try to get them up in the air as quick as possible because it gives us a great perspective from the command post to get a really good view and helps us determine what actions to take.
If Lake Patrol wasn't there, like close in the area at that time, do you think it would have took you guys a longer time to be able to rescue these people?
Yeah, so what we would have done is we would have sent our Zodiac to launch there at Festival Beach boat ramp, and that would have taken a couple more minutes, and then we would have also gone immediately and put rescue swimmers in the water from the closest unit that has trained rescue swimmers. And then, like I said, one of our first priorities is to always get those downstream safeties in place to be prepared in case someone does get washed away.
Any other questions? Alrighty, thank you so much.
Thanks.